chiamo qui sul palco con me Luis Dominguez, Head of Insurance Exchange Europe di bolttech. Ciao Luis, a te il floor.
Grazie. Buongiorno a tutti, buenos días. Maybe you have already identified that I'm not Italian, so apologies for my lack of Italian. I can offer Itagnol, okay, but I think it's going to be better in English, okay? So, well, first of all, thanks a lot to the organization for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be around with such a qualified audience. And for the next few minutes, of course, I will introduce a bit myself, what I do at bolttech, and definitely I will take you through what the topic is about, which is, maybe it's a bit breaking? Yes? Sorry. It's okay? Yeah, it's okay. Grazie. So about me, as you may see here, I'm the European head at bolttech for what we call Insurance Exchange, the platform. I will elaborate better, what does it mean? What does it mean in terms of bolttech, the platform business? In my case, I'm not an insurance industry veteran. I can say about my career that can be broken down in, I would say, two main components. One of them, my consulting years, working for companies like PwC or EY at the financial services practices. But more importantly, and maybe more relevant for this conversation, my platform years. I had the privilege of working since 2003 in something that today we know it's called platform, okay? Back then, there were not even iPhones, okay? And I was working there for companies, for instance, like the Italian Buongiorno, and lately NTT Docomo, the Japanese telco, developing for them two-sided platforms, what we call value-added services. And that helped me to move into what today we call the insurance exchange platform. And in this case, what I'm going to take you through just with 3 slides in the next few minutes is about bolttech. I will take for granted that maybe you have heard of us, but not so familiar with our lines of business. My colleague Luca has already introduced the highlights of what we do around the globe. I will try to go deeper in order for you to understand how we convey this into platform. Then in terms of channels, I will take you through a lot of use cases of how we serve traditional and non-traditional use cases. And finally, I will take you through 3 use cases, some of them very relevant for you, on how we address insurance or protection services distribution, because we are agnostic if they are configured as insurance products or services across 3 very different use cases. So being very specific and pragmatic here, okay? And by the way, more than happy to address any questions or comments along the presentation. Feel free. So about bolttech, these are some of the KPIs that we typically disclose in order to take you through what bolttech is about. First of all, by headquarters, we are an Asian company. Our headquarters are based in Singapore. Geographically speaking, we operate in 3 regions: Asia, US, where we operate in the 50 states, and in Europe, which is where the Italian team and myself are part too. In this case, we are an insurtech, obviously, and therefore our main resources and capabilities are focused on delivering a great technology behind insurance distribution. In this case, the platform is very well trained. As you may see, we are quoting more than $50 billion a year in different insurance products. So any kind of general insurance offering, very likely I would say we can cover that: home, health, travel, mobility. And this is thanks to basically 2 things, because as a white label service provider, basically the platform is connecting offer and demand. What we call typically downstream, we are enabling the integration of more than 230 insurance companies around the globe. Those insurance companies can range from the most, let's say, neo-insurance companies, digitized, potentially sexier, okay, like for instance the Lemonades and the likes in US, to the most traditional ones. The ones that have their products digitized, APIs, web services, and the ones that they don't have products digitized, because this is one of the pain points that we typically solve for our partners, that we make this abstract. Regardless of the level of digitization of those insurance products, the platform either integrates or configures it in order to enable the distribution. That is what we call the downstream part. The upstream part is very important here because it's connecting offer and demand. We are integrating upstream the platform with more than 700, as we call, distribution partners. In simple terms, retailers, telcos, financial institutions, any kind of distribution channel, because we enable, the distribution of insurance companies' products or services. As I said, the platform can handle both, depending on the configuration. The distribution across those channels. You will see in a second examples of those, okay? So very likely this amount of logos, some of them could be familiar, some others maybe not, because they are coming from different parts of the world. The intention of this second slide is basically to show you how we enable the distribution of many insurance or services across the platform in very different environments. When I mean environments is traditional distribution channels, which is not the subject of the conversation today, brokers, agents, bank assurance, financial institutions. So let's say pretty traditional distribution channels. And as well, which is the point of the conversation today, how we enable the distribution of those protection services into non-traditional channels. And as well, we are agnostic to something very important, and is, I think, making us a bit different in terms of competitive advantages. From the very beginning, the organization has been set up as an omni-channel capability, because I think you are experts in all this. When it comes to sell, to distribute insurance, still, and we have examples across more than 30 geographies around the globe, still end-to-end digital transactions, except for a few cases, are still, single digit. That's why you need, let's call it, the physical and human component in the customer journey to make sure that you monetize properly the entire distribution of insurance. In this case, the platform is totally omni-channel. So meaning that we are able to manage distribution partners that are only digital. I will give you an example in a second. To the other extreme, distribution partners that haven't already been mentioned in this conversation that are only physical, and the vast majority that are in between, the ones that typically distribute the insurance proposition with all the touch points, from physical points like stores, digital points, webs, applications, any digital touch point, and the ones that require as well agents, to make sure that the entire value is captured along the customer journey, because we follow the customer, okay? And finally, let me take you through 3 concrete examples on how our capabilities enable the distribution in what we call non-traditional channels. All those channels of distribution that are becoming more and more important for insurance companies because potentially may become the future bank assurance. For instance, now we see clearly in the case of telcos, in this telco assurance trend that we are seeing definitely here in Italy. These are 3 extreme examples. On the one hand, a very well-known brand here, I think it requires no introduction. Amplifon has been already mentioned by my colleague Luca, in where just picture what is Amplifon's customer base. Very likely, no one in this audience, uses their products. Very likely. That's why they are addressing what is called the silver economy, the more aged segment of the population. That kind of population requires a physical experience. So basically, our technology enables at point of sale, at Amplifon stores, the capabilities that the audiologist, which is the prescriber of the protection, to make sure that offers a well-integrated experience into the point of sale, because the customer, the profile is, let's say, not digitally savvy as we may all expect. And we move to the other extreme, which is digital-only experience. Very likely as well is familiar for you, back market. One of the leaders in e-commerce on the refurbished device segment. Digital-only experience. They require a technology, and we enable them to integrate very efficiently a digital-only experience to make sure that the integration of the core value proposition, which is connecting offer and demand on refurbished devices, is properly integrating, protection into that. So as you see, 2 very different segments of the, user experience. And the one in between, very likely you are familiar with Orange, okay, the telco brand. one of the largest telcos. They don't operate here in Italy, but they have a wide footprint. For instance, the case I'm bringing to you is Orange in Spain. Today is the largest telco operating in Spain. After an integration, they serve more than 30 million subscribers. They use a fully omnichannel distribution enabled by bolttech. So we integrate the capabilities of the insurance protections, home, health, SOHO, basically into all the channels and all the brands. Digital, applications, webs, of course, stores, very important for the distribution, and more importantly, agents. The entire lead generation and monetization is managed, white label, obviously, by our platform. So that's a bit what we wanted to bring to you about the distribution of insurance or protection services across non-traditional channels. Hopefully, this is relevant for you all. And if we have time, I don't know, the organization, happy to address any questions or comments. Thank you so much. Grazie.